Hey, welcome everybody to another Alaska Grown Facebook Live. This is John Whipple with the Division of Agriculture, and today we are on location in Fairbanks at the Botanical Gardens on UAF. With me is Pat Holloway, Alaskan Peonies guru, and I'm just excited to have a little time to spend today walking through the peony gardens and also to learn a little bit about peonies in Alaska and the growing industry that it has become. Pat, tell us all about it.
Well, I have to say before we get started in the history of this thing, we are standing in the very first flower bed that was ever planted with peonies at the Georgeson Botanical Garden.
Oh, wow.
This is where the industry started, right here. And this year is our 20th anniversary. So we have been doing research on peonies for 20 years.
Wow.
And we haven't answered all of the questions. We're still doing research in cooperation with the Division of Agriculture and several other universities, but we're still interested in figuring out all the different management schemes that we need, the diseases we need to control and the insects to try to make this an industry that's viable, that where they can sell peonies worldwide. So we planted these peonies in 2001. And so these are Sarah Bernhardt's, and this is probably the most well-known and the biggest peony in the whole industry and the greatest acreage, because the plants are robust, they're huge, they're tall, they have big double flowers, and people love them. So we started with Sarah's and about 30 other varieties, and we've just been continuing to do research. Starting in about 2004, we got some people that were really interested in growing them, and so then we formed partnerships. And so it has been this great conversation among researchers, the division folks, and the farmers in just back and forth, trying to figure out how to work this. So the division gets involved mostly because of the inspections. And so if we want to sell our peony stems overseas in England or Canada, then there can't be one insect on them. And so we have to make sure that they're insect free or they get rejected somewhere over there. So the people of the division actually do all of the inspections to make sure that everything is clean when it leaves Alaska. So it's been a real good, good cooperative working relationship among government as well as farmers, and we've developed an industry now. The largest peony grower in the state shipped out 250,000 stems last year.
Wow.
And the second largest, 68,000 stems. And there's peony growers, there's 135 peony growers in the state, and they're either working at small little bouquets that they sell to individuals. They'll have subscription services, they'll sell at farmers markets, grocery stores. The large growers are actually shipping them to big brokers, and they'll cut everything, put them in a cooler, and then 50,000 stems will be shipped out at one time. So it goes from the little growers to the big growers, and they're all right now in this stage with the buds in this dark green stage. And in about 7 to 10 days, this place will be in full bloom. So we're just at the beginning, almost ready to cut. This one is an early bird, so the growers are getting started, and they're going to be picking like mad for the next month throughout the state, from Fairbanks all the way down to Homer. So we've been going on this for quite a while, and it was just by accident that the industry got started, because Cooperative Extension Service had a conference, and I had to give a speech at the conference about all kinds of flowers that were grown at the Georgeson Botanical Garden. And little did I know, there was a gentleman in the audience who happened to be a world-class cut flower grower. So he knew the industry, and I mentioned peonies blooming in July, and he never mentioned peonies, and it was only after the conference, when everybody's just sitting around shooting the breeze, that I asked him, isn't there something, we have huge airports here, isn't there something we couldn't put in a box and ship somewhere? And I was thinking delphiniums and some of the other gorgeous flowers that we grow in Alaska.
Sure.
And he said, no, you have something that nobody else in the world has. Well, I'm looking at him going, and what is that? And he told me it was peonies blooming in July. And I had no clue, because I'd been here for 20 years and I had no idea of this timing difference. But he had sold flowers on the world markets, the big Dutch auctions, and he knew the timing of all of the flowers. And he's the one that put that seed in my mind. I said, well, we've got to try it. So the experiment station here and the one in the Matsu, that's what we do, is we experiment with whatever we get our hands on to see if it's something that we can share with growers to just help people have a farm in Alaska, make a bit of money off their land. So I planted this little plot here with peonies, and then I published the results because the experiment station requires that. I published the results, and in 2003, I received a phone call from a gentleman in England. And standing in this little plot here, he called me up and he goes, we want 100,000 stems. I've already arranged for you to ship them to England. There's a plane that ships fresh fish to UK, and I'm ready for you. You just get them to Anchorage. And I'm in this little plot going 100,000 stems. There were no researchers or no growers. So it was like, this was the beginning. So then we gave speeches and we said, we can't tell you all the things about growing them, but this is what people are telling us. And then that same year we had some growers from New Zealand. Turns out they were the largest peony growers in New Zealand as visitors to this garden. And in July they showed up and they were just agog about seeing peonies in July. And they told us, you've got to develop this. They offered not only to help me because I was a total novice, but they said any person in Alaska who really wanted to learn the peony industry could visit their farm in New Zealand. So they received a grant through the Division of Agriculture, one of those specialty crop grants, and a bunch of them went to New Zealand. And they came back growers. They knew exactly what they were going to be doing. So it was those people just giving the information to Alaskans. And that was it. And then we all learned from each other. And then we started having annual conferences, which was always a combination of cooperative extension and the division and the university. And every year we just brought the information together, whatever we had learned that year. And some of the stuff that we started out with, we had to throw out because it was no good. There were other things that were brand new that showed up. I don't know what that is. So we've just continued that conversation for years and years. And so this is our 20th year, and I think we've done pretty darn good. So
that's amazing. It's really cool to hear the whole backstory, kind of the history and track to bringing us up to now.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it's unique a little bit in the way that it has a booming market on tap, ready to rock. Like whatever we can make, they'll buy it.
Yeah.
Is that pretty good, fair to say?
The local markets are still limited because there's only so many flowers that you can sell through the real small, like farmers markets. But the wholesale markets, I think they said Holland 2 years ago sold like 80 million stems to the world markets, and Holland is the biggest market. And we're at about 500,000. So there's room for growth, there's room for people to expand. And it's not without its problems. There's places in Alaska you cannot grow peonies. There are soils that are too wet. They have freeze thaw issues in the wintertime. We've listed a whole lot of things. So it's worthwhile to connect up with people at the division, people at the university, to figure out what that list is. And everybody will be very straight and say, you got to do a business plan. You have to do all of these things to make it so that you can find out on your little plot of heaven whether you can grow peonies. It's not for everybody, but the few people that are doing it are doing very, very well. And it's just glorious. And these peony fields, I invite everybody to come to the Georgeson Botanical Garden in about 7 to 10 days, and this place will be full bloom, and it will be gorgeous. So
that's awesome, and I'm looking forward to this peony season in the next week or two as we start going around to different fields for some of our projects and getting to see the full bloom.
And I visited farms. There was a farm tour just a couple of weeks ago down in the Matanuska Valley, and I went all the way down to Homer, and there's a few little hiccups, and there's some farms that had some issues, but for the most part, they look glorious, and it's going to be a real good cutting season. And as long as people have lined up their buyers, and it's buyers from all over the lower 48 as well as several parts of the foreign exports. And last year, the people that had the marketing piece all set up, they sold everything that they could take out of the ground. So now it's like you have to know the buyers, you have to do a lot of work off season to line up those sales, but they're there, and people love Alaska peonies, the big flowers, the big stems, and here it is almost July, and we will have peonies through August and maybe into the early September. So it'll be a good year, I think.
That's fantastic. And as I understand it, the other parts of the world that do grow peonies, they're coming into bloom at different times of the year.
Yes.
It makes us very unique, like you said, that we're
right.
coming into bloom at July, August, September. Those are
right.
the sweet spot for us. Is that right?
The temperate region comes in the end of April through May and into the first part of June, depending upon where you are. That's the big glut. And then starting in October, November, December, that's when New Zealand and Australia get going. And then it moves up a little bit to Chile and Argentina. It hopscotches over the tropics because peonies need a chilling period in order to survive. And then once it gets into that temperate region, they just go, and all the way through China, the glut is right at that springtime season.
Yeah.
But there's only a couple of parts of the year where peonies had not been available, and one of them was the July, August, and September, and then the other one was a little bit in February.
Okay.
And that stage. But they're still working on, there's a lot of growers that are trying to grow peonies in pots, and if you look at these plants, they don't fit well in pots.
No.
And the flowers that come out of peonies in pots are not really that great.
Okay.
They're kind of small, wimpy. So we don't really have much competition from them, except if people are so desperate they want a peony, they'll take anything. But these are second to none. We have the best quality. We have few diseases and insects. So the ones we have are serious and we need to manage them. But from the standpoint, with the research that's being done at the university and with our partners at Washington State and University of California and Hawaii, we've got the experts here. We brought them all together to solve our problems. And they're working with the Division of Ag folks, and we're going to have a really good export program that allows us to do the inspections that we need that will allow this industry to grow. It'll be really, really good.
Yeah.
So
fantastic. Well, thank you for taking this time to talk with us and clue everybody in.
Well, you're welcome.
For everybody out there, please support Alaska Grown.
Yes.
Buy peonies. Go
Yes.
to your local florist. Ask for local peonies, right?
Right.
And for those of you who say, wow, you know what? This is kind of interesting. I'm kind of curious about growing peonies. Reach out to us.
Right.
Reach out to UF Extension. We'd love to give you more information. Drop a comment below. Shoot us a direct message. Give us an email. Give us a call. And I'm so glad you mentioned a business plan, right? So many people get so excited about,
Yeah.
oh, there's a market. Oh, I love
Yeah.
farming. Let's jump in on this. But there's a lot more to that, right?
Well,
any
yeah.
business requires a lot more than just a market.
And I recommend anybody wanting to get into this is to go work on the farms that are already there and get it right from the people who are actually doing it.
Yes.
I mean, I do the research part, but I'm not a business and I'm not an economist. I don't know how to put together an enterprise budget on anything, but these growers have, and they're making a go of it. And so if people can either interview them, talk to those farmers, and then work with all of the people to get connected. And they can get connected through the Alaska Grown program or through the Cooperative Extension or the university. There's a lot of information out there. Just Google Alaska peonies. You will be surprised. And And Facebook has so many connections with some of these farms, you will be amazed at what they're actually selling. It's a really good story.
Awesome. All right, well, for everybody here at the division and here at UAF Extension and Pat, I want to thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week, Thursday. You guys have a good night. Devin, you want to hit our button there?